Well, here we are again, and I figured since I brought up the Overland Express and how people were still looking for it with all the wrong information, I'd bring you out here to the actual tracks that train got hit on. Twice in one day, actually. So what we're talking about is getting the right information at the right time. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I keep seeing all kinds of old railroad spikes laying around. But the wrong information can really mess things up. And like I said, there's a lot of videos out there that still, lead people to believe that the Overland Express treasure, as people like to call it, it's actually $40,000 in gold coin, is still out there on the south side of the Truckee River, buried somewhere. So in that short video, I mentioned it. So we're going to get a little bit more in depth today and show you a little bit of footage of the way the town looks now as compared to when it was in 1870. The town itself getting its name was kind of ridiculous. I mean, a bunch of guys half drunk standing around threw their names in a hat, and Giuseppe Verdi's name got pulled out of the hat and they named the town Verdi. So it was a bustling little town, yellow jacket mine, a lot of lumber. The lumber industry, insane. And while I was refreshing my memory on this, I actually found another segue into another adventure. And it's got to do with the mill magnate. I believe his name was Longley. Oliver Lonke. He owned 4 mills up here, but he only hired Chinese workers. And we'll get into this one later. I'll do a whole video on this, on how my mind works when I read into these stories. Because there is money to be had there, I guarantee it. So, back to the Overland Express. In November of 1870, all of this was white. Nothing but snow. Tracks and everything. The train, 5 men stopped that evening in November, about a mile from where I'm standing right now. Now, there's several stories that are out there about the robbery, how it went down and everything. I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell, because there's people saying that they separated cars, they put grease on the tracks. Why would you grease train tracks in the snow anyways? But, I mean, when it's all said and done, in a nutshell, they got away with the money. So it was 5 guys. 2 of them were on the train, and 3 of them were waiting up here. When that train evened out on its grade, they stopped it somewhere. And like I said, there's several opinions on how it stopped. But the 5 guys involved were peculiar individuals themselves. The head guy, Smiling Jack, he was a well-known businessman around Reno. Another one of the guys, I think it was John Chapman. He was the Sunday school administrator. So these guys, the other 3 though, 2 of them were professional thieves and 1 a professional stagecoach robber. So all these 5 guys get together. They hit the Overland Express right here out of Verdi. They take $40,000 plus in payroll for the Yellow Jacket mine. I've seen some other accounts where it said it was for the lumber mills payroll. Either way, those are 2 groups of guys you don't want to mess with and piss them off by taking their money. But either way, they got away with $40,000. Now here's the deal. Everybody says it's buried on the south side of the Truckee. The Reno Sheriff's County Clerk office records say no. They're only missing about 7,000 of that. They caught up to one of the bandits a day later in Reno gambling. That guy was John Gilchrist. I'm not sure what his first name was. It might have been John or James Gilchrist. But here's the thing though. Sheriffs back then, whole different type of person than they are now. The Sheriff's County records, when I ran across this and ran this story down about 5 years ago, the sheriff's deputy that come up here, just one, in the snow, went over to where it happened, looked down in the tracks in the snow, pointed at one specific set of tracks and said, "That's a gambler." Now this speaks to what sheriffs did back then, what they knew, what they could do with a footprint in the ground. He knew from the cut of that boot, he wasn't a logger, he wasn't a miner, he wasn't a cowpoke. This guy was a pretty boy. He was a gambler. So that led them down to the casinos and the gambling halls and all the bars and everything in Reno, and they found John Gilchrist pretty quick. Well, it took John all of, I think, 5 minutes to give up everybody. So they got all the money back, and all that is in the county register. Now, when you go looking for this stuff, start with the county. Go back to the oldest register that you can find, or records that you can find, excuse me, and start there. You'd be surprised what you come up with. Like I said today, when I went to refresh my memory on this, I ran into a whole different predicament. Up here in Bird Eye, there was a big lumber mill monopoly going on. And this man, Oliver Lonke, he owned, I believe, upwards of four of these lumber mills. Now, the townspeople did not like Lonke because Lonke only hired Chinese workers. When the town approached him about it, he hired more Chinese workers. So that tells you what kind of man he is, right? All of us are hard-headed one way or another, but I can't blame him one bit. So having said that, so you guys understand what the town thinks of Oliver Lonke, they started burning his mills down. It started with one. Lonke'd put it out. It'd start with another. He'd rebuild it. And then after about 3 months of this going on, the whole town got together and they burned all 4 mills down at the same time. So I thought I was going to make another video on this, but I'm going to let y'all know right now. That information I just told you tells me there's money to be had. There's a trail to follow. There's a treasure out there. And here it is. So you got a guy, Oliver Lonke, who has alienated himself from his community and all of his people around him, including the whole damn town. Now, back in 1870, there ain't a whole lot of banks, and banking was pretty personal. So you take a gentleman like Lonke trying to keep his money in a bank, they're not going to do it. They won't do business with him. He hires Chinese people. The whole town hates him. So what does a man like Lonke do with his money? 4 lumber mills. I'm going to save Lonke's residence for another video, probably about 6-7 months from now, because this is a fresh one to me, and I like to do my homework, like I said. And this one, not being a city employee or somebody of more famous stature, is going to take a while to run down. Usually all you're going to find are birth records or obituary records from back then. They really didn't track a whole lot of, hey, he opened another lumber mill. You know, they didn't care. They just, look, there's a job there. Everybody went there. Nobody advertised it. But Oliver Lonke, yeah, he made a lot of enemies. He really did. But he also made a lot of lumber. It was said that he was putting out 1,000 feet an hour in an 1870s lumber mill, which is pretty good. Just really good. When you have 4 mills, that's a lot of money right there. And the lumber was moving, so he was making money. Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept those mills going. So we're going to get into that on another episode. And that is how I find my oddball treasures. In obscure, these stories out there, there's always a little bit of truth to something. And there's sometimes, if you're thinking outside the box, you'll find a situation like Oliver Lonke and his lumber mills, hiring all the Chinese people. And if you're thinking outside the box, the man's got money. He's got to keep it somewhere. Back in the day, people kept money in a few different places. And they kept it certain ways. I'm going to let you guys look into that. Because the next burnt down wagon you see in the middle of Arizona, New Mexico, or whatnot, looks like it's been there 150 years. people purposely burnt wagons on top of their gold and their valuables and their possessions so they knew where they were. If they were attacked by Indians or bandits or whatever, they're running out of water and they got to make a run for it, they either burned a wagon on top of it because the oxen or mules or horses died and they couldn't pull it anymore, or they built a giant campfire ring on top of what they buried and just burned a fire all night. Signs of campfires last a very long time, and these people were probably intending to come back within a year or two and getting it. So next time you're out there and you see a burn spot on the ground that looks really old, get your metal detector out, especially if you're nowhere. That's pretty much it for today. I mean, this isn't the adventure I wanted to take you on. I just wanted you all to understand that just because there's a bunch of stories out there that says there's treasure somewhere, go to the root of things. Go to the state. Go to the government. Look at their records. And when you start seeing verification of those actions or stories that you read or heard somewhere else, that's when you start digging. Otherwise, wouldn't waste my time with none of it. A lot of people out there are putting information out just to garner views. I'm pretty sick of that. And it's part of the reason why I started this. And I'm looking forward to engaging with you people in the comments, because two heads are always better than one. You may think you may not know anything. Then again, you having a conversation with somebody like me or somebody else that's interested in it, they may show you you know a whole lot more than you think you do about certain things. You just haven't recognized them. So having said that, I will start working on the next video. See how this one goes. If you guys like my content, I'll keep doing it. Honestly, I don't think I'm any good at it. I don't do well with cameras and computers and stuff like that. I do well with the outdoors. So, let you look at this nice little backdrop, because that rarely changed since 1870. And I will catch you all later on the next one. Have a good one.